Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're gonna be making a pumpkin cake donut. Super simple recipe, very tasty. I think anybody can handle this. It is real easy. Like it's just like mixing together stuff in a bowl. The only specialty element to this is the pan itself that you need to bake them in is a cake donut pan. And that's because these are effectively just cake that you are putting into a mold that makes it look like a donut. I always forget that I have issue with cake donuts because when I see a donut shaped object, I'm like, ooh, delicious fried dough. But then when you take a bite of a cake donut, you're just taking a bite of cake. And that experience versus expectation mismatch, just like my brain always just like, oh. So I feel like if this was shaped like a cupcake with the glaze on top, like if it was frosting, would somehow be better than it's shaped like a donut, even though it's the exact same thing, exact same texture, flavor, everything, but somehow it would be better that way. So that's a little glimpse. That's some of the hot takes that I'll give at the taste testing at the end. So hopefully stick around for that. I picked this recipe because I was having a craving for some apple cider donuts. I couldn't make those for you guys because I've already done that a couple years back. And so I was like, well, let me find something that's still like, fall vibes, but different. Pumpkin spice, I think, is like the peak fall flavoring. And so I made some pumpkin donuts. And this one kind of stood out because it had the glaze on top. A lot of the other ones were just like cinnamon sugar, which you can do with this, but the glaze kind of, I was like, ooh, I want that glaze. Yeah, so that's why I picked this. If you don't want the glaze on top, you don't have to put the glaze on top. I want it on there. So I put it on there. Enough rambling. So why don't we run through the ingredients and get into cooking? Flour, sugar, milk, eggs, brown sugar, powdered sugar, butter, salt, cinnamon, pumpkin pie spice, baking powder, pumpkin, vanilla extract, and oil. The first step is going to be whisk together the flour, the baking powder, the salt, and the pumpkin spice. Next, in a separate bowl, we're going to whisk together the pumpkin puree, the eggs, the oil, both the sugars, and then also the vanilla. Next, we just combine the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients until it's fully incorporated. Now we're going to take the batter and fill a lightly greased donut pan by either using a Ziploc bag with the corner cut off, that's what I did, or if you're fancy, use a piping bag to, pipe it in. Now finally for the donut side, we're going to bake at 375 for 20 to 25 minutes. A toothpick should come out clean. Now to get working on the glaze, we're going to combine the brown sugar, the butter, the milk, and the salt in a saucepan on medium heat, kind of whisking that until the butter has fully melted, and then we want to let it simmer for 1 minute. Now we want to remove that from heat and then whisk in the vanilla and powdered sugar until it's smooth. Now we're going to combine the two by dunking the donuts into the glaze, and then when that doesn't work, just take a spoon and kind of drizzle on top, making a nice even coat. But make sure you work quick because the glaze starts setting and it gets a little lumpy at the end. You probably could reheat the glaze to kind of keep it smooth, but I did not do that. Hindsight 2020. All right, here we have it. Let's give it a taste test and see how we did. This is delicious. I said that at the beginning, it's very tasty, super simple, so that always makes it kind of like a nice recipe where you can just kind of like bust this out, not a whole lot of stress going into it. My thought is like this would be great for like a small group of people. These should be like all served together, all fresh out of the oven at once, served kind of like warm. Everybody would enjoy that. But if you have like a huge group, like a big party that you're doing, this might not be the recipe for that, or if you need to take it someplace, especially like a morning thing. So like if you like have to like kind of keep them overnight and then they'll kind of cool off, I don't think that's gonna be the vibe. Like these are primo when they're like fresh, warm out of the oven. The other like little like tweaks that I'd make to this, obviously I already stated my opinions on it being donut shaped versus like muffin shaped. To argue that a little bit further, it'll be a different argument. I do find this quite sweet, and I think that if you do the muffin route, like, or more the cupcake where it's like, the muffin and then frosting on top, which is what makes it a cupcake, the ratio of cake to frosting or the glaze here would be a little better because the cake itself isn't overly sweet, and I think the glaze is too sweet for me. And so with this, you're like, it's like almost like a 1-to-1. And so it's a lot of sugar going at me. And I'm not a huge fan of that. So I think having it more in that like cupcake form would give you a little bit more of cake to offset that sweetness. So I think that would also be like a good approach there. The other option would be to do more of a drizzle than like a complete coating. But also, the recipe does talk about this. You could put like salty peanuts like chopped up on top, and the salty sweet might kind of balance each other out a little bit there. So that might work. I just don't have any, I didn't have any peanuts on hand. And I forgot about that when I was going grocery shopping. That might help kind of balance it a little bit. So that's like another option there. I don't know how to do this improvement, like beyond just pouring it in there, would be to make the glaze like maple flavored in some way, because that feels a little bit more fall vibes to me than just like brown sugar glaze. I think that would be tasty, like having like a little like maple flavoring in there. I haven't thought about that one a lot. That kind of just popped in my head. So it's not like a full, I don't have a process on how to execute on that, but I think that would be a delicious variation of this recipe as well. Hopefully some of that makes sense and it's not just the ramblings of a madman. And I hope that you give this recipe a try and maybe implement some of the ideas that I had. Maybe just make it as is and see if you agree with any of the statements, any of the tweaks that I would suggest. Either way, go out, make something, enjoy it, and then, maybe let me know how it goes. But on that note, bye, Mom. Still not dead. See you.